What's up, everybody? Welcome to 3D Rivals, your first line of defense against stupid movies. My name is DJ, and of course, I am joined by my co host, my sister,
Danita.
Danita, and my brother, Derek.
What's up, everybody?
And today, we are going to be talking about Avengers Endgame. About a year ago, we started a journey when we realized we wouldn't be watching any new movies for a long time. So we decided to rewatch the Marvel movies from the beginning, and now we have finally ended up here in Avengers Endgame. And yeah, I have to say it's been a fun journey again, and this movie still stands up. This goes down as one of my favorite movies all time, just because of how much it means.
Yeah, I think
I like how we made it up. I was going to say, I like how we made it this far, and it's been almost exactly a year since everything has been affected by the virus.
Yeah.
So we started this a year ago, and now we're full circle, and apparently we're still in our own homes.
Yeah, hopefully not for long. We'll see what happens, but yeah. What were you saying,
Danita? What I was gonna say is that that even this movie, how enjoyable this movie still is. Like after finishing watching it today, like it ended, and I was like, man, I still really love watching this movie. And I think that one of the few movies that you can probably see 30 times or whatever, and it's just as enjoyable as it was when you first saw it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a long movie, and just coming off the back of another long movie, which was longer, I have to say this movie doesn't feel like 3 hours. You don't feel the 3 hours. Now, I know that's not the same for everyone. Some people, they felt it dragging a little bit before the time heist, and I can see where they're getting that there. But for me, like, it just really... It doesn't feel like 3 hours. You're in the movie, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, 3 hours has passed,
I feel like it built up to the plot well, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's starting off. This movie, I'm gonna start at the beginning. It hits hard, man. It does not pull any punches at all. You start with Barton losing his family, Hawkeye, his entire family's gone, and you're like, yeah, it's like they're like, hey, remember Infinity War where you all were like shocked walking out of the theater and nobody could talk and whatnot? Yeah. Let's remind you of what happened there. And then you got the Avenger. Well, and then you got the message Tony is leaving to Pepper, which again is sad because it's like, you kind of know, like, okay, he's not going to die, but like it's just really sad. One thing to note, they played the funeral song. Obviously, you wouldn't have noticed this like when you were in the theater the first time you watched it, but the song they played during Tony's funeral was played in this scene when he was leaving the message to Pepper. So, they're just preparing your mind for the sadness that will come for the future, I guess.
Okay, I did not notice that, but that is an interesting fact.
Mm-hmm. And then I think one of the biggest parts when I first watched it, I remember in the theater when that 5 years later came up, like they found Thanos, they defeated him, but it meant nothing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like you beat him, but everything still happened, and there's nothing you can do about it. And then 5 years later, it's kind of like, what?
It was kind of like that opening, like the first 20 minutes or whatever, is like, okay, they come in, they have a game plan, it works gangbusters. And then it was like they won, but they still lost. And it was like such an empty feeling. And I remember like sitting there thinking like, well, now what?
Yeah.
And to see that 5 years later title card, it made you think like, wow, like they really didn't accomplish, like they lost. Like for 5 years to have gone by and just, this is life now.
Yeah.
And I thought first watching it, like it's gonna be another epic Thanos battle scene because
Mm-hmm.
I mean he won so single handedly in Infinity War. So I'm just like, okay. And then it's like when they killed him, it's just like you still had that empty feeling. It's just like, okay,
Yeah,
it didn't
because
change anything.
yeah,
Like everybody's still gone. There's still no Spider Man. Star Lord still gone.
it
Like
actually
wow.
didn't accomplish anything at all, and like that's the first 15 minutes of the movie. So one of the things is like, wow, okay, it's been 5 years, so now what? And then the other thing is, of course, now what? Because the stones are gone. Nobody expected that. We're all like speculating that whole year, like, okay, so how do they get the stones back from Thanos and whatnot? And that's what we thought, like you said, you're gonna get that big epic battle against Thanos so they can grab the gauntlet and whatnot and try to undo things. And
Yep.
no, the stones are just gone. And so like you're like, what what do you do now? So I thought that was really good. Like they really did the unexpected with this movie, I would think. No one guessed the direction they were going. I mean, I
Well,
think
no.
some
True.
people guessed time travel, but like,
Yeah, but no one guessed that in the first 15 minutes that they would defeat Thanos, and then that when they do that, it didn't really matter that they still actually lost.
yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I
Yeah.
do like. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing that I do like about um this time travel in this movie, because normally you got time travel and it's like, oh, everything's undone, and then even though it could be an enjoyable movie to watch, in some instances it's like, well, you just undid everything. Let's use Days of Future Past as an example, right? It's like, what was the point of X-Men 1, 2, and 3 if Days of Future Past just makes them obsolete, right? It undoes it. Now they're still good movies, but as far as the greater stories told, you erase those movies.
Yeah.
I like how it's done in this movie because there were still consequences for them losing in Infinity War. The consequences are still there. Them getting the stones back and snapping everyone back, it didn't erase everything that happened. 5 years still passed, so there are tons of consequences. They're exploring that on the TV shows that we watch. First you saw it in Far From Home, and then WandaVision explored it, and then they mentioned it a little bit in Falcon and Winter Soldier as well. And the consequences stayed, and I think that's important because it wasn't just it didn't undo Infinity War.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm
and because of, and I mean, I know we're going to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier later, but because of that consequence, it's like the main thing that's going on with Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this is what's going on. This is the lack of a better word, problem
Mm-hmm.
or the issue that's going on because of them bringing everybody back.
Right. Yeah. 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 I want to. I guess I'll touch on it again when we talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier, but it seems to be some resentment from the people who lived during those 5 years against those who came back after. And they explored it first in WandaVision. Now, it was a short thing, but Hayward did mention to Monica Rambeau, he mentioned to her, he's like, you guys don't understand that, like, speaking as the people that came back, you don't understand what we went through during the 5 years.
Right.
He mentioned that. And then now you have the Flag Smashers in Falcon and Winter Soldier saying they like the world better after Thanos snapped, and now we're soft now that the Avengers brought everybody back. So yeah, it's I'm glad that it not only didn't erase Infinity War, but those consequences are continuing on in the universe.
Yeah.
Well, what I think you have, and I think is that like Endgame made it seem as if no one could move on within this 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That like everyone was just kind of stuck, right? Like even the opening scene with Scott right? I mean, San Francisco's in shambles, right? You
Right.
know, it's like trash is everywhere, right? You see New York City, whatever the stadium the Mets play in is messed up, right? The harbor's all messed up. And so it's like, okay, no one could move on. But the thing is that some people did move on. Some people grieved and then they went on with their life because you didn't have a choice. You
Yeah.
had to live. And I think that's the thing is that the people that decided to move on and live, all of a sudden you upended their life by bringing all of these people back.
Yeah.
And that was going to be one of my things to talk about later is that the Avengers didn't really think through like what happens when we bring these people back. Like there is some serious consequences to doing that.
Yeah.
Yes, you saved billions of lives, but what did it cost the people that were already there?
Yeah, I think the world bounces back from that, but you have a lot of problems. In WandaVision, you saw that with the hospital, and all of a sudden, all of these old patients and stuff are reappearing back in the hospital. It doesn't have the capacity to take care of that, not only because they weren't originally there, but remember, it's half the population, meaning it's probably less people in the hospital at that time, especially 5 years later. People are
just you use resources.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not going to have the same resources. You're not going to use things at the same capacity because you don't have that same number of population.
Yeah.
So it's just like a waste.
Yeah, it's logistics. Like the world has enough food, but food production is at a level to take care of, 3 to 4 billion people. And now all of a sudden you're back to 7 to 8 billion people on the planet. That's like the production wasn't in line to provide food for all of them. Now there is the food there, but we didn't have the infrastructure there, probably because they spent 5 years taking care of just the half of the people on the planet. So yeah, there was a lot of consequences. It's kind of like, hey, y'all did a good thing, but also, yeah, maybe we should have thought this out and maybe try to figure out a better way than just bring everybody back. Yeah. But this one thing I think this movie does well, and I always say Infinity War is a better movie than Endgame, but Endgame always feels more, I guess, nostalgic because it just closes a lot of ends in like throughout the last 10 years of the Marvel Universe. It just bookends everything and gives a lot of fan service, which is well deserved, especially when you had 20 something movies before it. And all of that, I think, just makes it more enjoyable. Like just pointing to everything, going back to the original Avengers battle, things like that. Thor going back to the Dark World, which, not a great movie, but it's still him being able to talk to his mom, Tony being able to talk to his dad, stuff like that. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I think it's just overall is satisfying. Like you said, Infinity War is the better movie, but Endgame overall is just satisfying that it hits everything that you wanted it to hit and then some. And then when they're doing a time heist, just realize like, oh, we're going back to 2012 New York City, and so we're seeing that same movie, but like the behind the scenes version,
right?
And then I think that was pretty cool, and even to touch on some things like Captain America in the elevator, right? And you're thinking like, we're about to get an elevator fight. But you don't when they switch it up because all of a sudden it's like, Hell Hydra.
Right.
So I think it's like they was able to kind of give you everything you wanted, but do it in a way where it's not cheesy or like too on the nose or something like that, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
Or forced. Like how you feel like things are like forced in the movie. I would say like the Justice League movie before the Snyder cut. Like watching that movie, there was things in the movie that was forced.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get that with Endgame.
Yeah. The original Justice League. Yeah, that definitely. You can see that. Yeah, there were a lot of different things, and I think bringing Thanos back, I thought that was done in kind of an intelligent way. Because otherwise you're like, well, how are they going to fight Thanos? You know, and we knew they were going to fight him because it was in the trailers, but he was dead. So,
Right.
I thought that was done well too.
You know what? Like watching it originally, I didn't think of that. You know, I thought of them like going to get the stones and snapping back.
Mhm.
I didn't think about like, oh, Thanos could possibly come back with that. Like, I was just so enthralled. Like, yes, bring everybody back. Like, I didn't honestly really didn't care, but I'm like, I'm glad that it turned out to be the way that it turned out because that is the most epic fight scene.
Yeah. So I have a question for y'all. So is this still a good movie if it ends after Hulk brings everyone back?
Yes.
Yes, it is still a good movie. Yes.
I think so too. I think I would have been like, oh, okay, so that's cool. It wouldn't have been as epic as it is because
no, it
well,
wouldn't.
No, because then you miss some of the best parts of the movie. Some of the most iconic parts of the movie is like one. I think when they bring everyone back and you realize it worked, you're like, oh, okay, great. And then the headquarters blows up.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh yeah, Thanos.
That's right. You know what? In the theater, I legit, when they were bringing everybody back, now they set it up at Thanos. They even showed his spaceship fly through, right? But when they brought everybody back, I legit forgot all about Thanos. Wasn't thinking about Thanos and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, it worked. Scott's like, everybody, it worked. Hawkeye's wife is calling him.
Balls.
Yeah.
And then the cell phone rings, like, because the theater was quiet. It was dead silence.
Right.
Because it's just like, did it work?
and like they did that to us twice. It's like, okay, Thanos blows up the headquarters, right? So then you have that fight with Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man, which was just great because you had those three against Thanos, right? You got Captain America lifting a hammer, and so you're into this fight.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you hear sound like Cap, can you hear me? Then I'm like, oh yeah,
that's right. Right. At first, I was a little. At first time watching it, I was a little confused. I'm like, wait, no, yeah, they snapped everybody back, and I was like, I forgot.
It corrects this other iconic moment where it's like on your left, and then for like everyone to come out, it was just like, it just hits everything you wanted to hit, and it gets you because it's like you're so in a moment into this one thing. Then they kind of bring you back, like, oh yeah, there's like 1,000 superheroes that can fight this fight.
Yeah, man, the last hour of this movie, just applause, kudos to the directors and writers because they hit just all the right points from beginning to end, man. Like you said, you have the big three, right? We get Thor, we have Iron Man, Captain America. They started the Marvel universe, right? And we have them versus Thanos. It's their last fight, right? Against him. And they gave us that with just them, which was well deserved.
Yeah.
And then just that with the portals and everybody coming out, man. Like, man, it's just iconic. And then you got the score. Look, we don't talk about the scores in Marvel movies too often because, like, the music generally is not the thing that stands out in a Marvel movie. But the score with this,
it stands out in that scene, though.
Yeah,
it stands out in that scene, though.
Yeah, dude. And then, like, literally, like, our theater wasn't exactly like this, but you can get where people are cheering, where, like, Black Panther comes out, and people are like, and like, Falcon flies through the portal.
People cheered in our theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, people cheered in our theater. They clapped.
I mean, when you had, like...
They clapped, like... 5 times in the movie. Like when they cut Thanos' head off in the beginning of the movie, people were clapping like,
really?
Yeah. And
I don't remember that, but I would say at the end, especially with the hammer thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but see, when it was happening, and I was like, I'm saying to myself, Cap is going to pick up the hammer, and then when he does it,
I was surprised. I thought it was Thor. I thought it was Thor, and then it flew past him and went to Cap, and I'm like,
yeah. And so the whole theater cheers like, oh yes, I knew it, blah blah blah, which was great. And so like you had that when you first hear Sam's voice, and everyone's like, woo, yeah. And so you had that, and like the whole interest is like, it's kind of great, which is why it's like it is good for movies to be in theaters because you don't get that same feeling being at home.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was going to say. The argument, I don't have a better word for it, but the argument between, whether movies are going to have a place in direct to streaming or theaters, movies like this, these big movies like this has to be in theater because it's the I don't know, one of the guys that hates superhero movies said it, but it's the amusement of it, like a theme park type of amusement of it. It's part of the experience of these movies. Now that doesn't mean they're not good, so I disagree with him on that, but there is that aspect of these movies where we're all there with hundreds of people we don't know, and we're taking in this scene and we're enjoying it, and we're feeling the thrill that everybody else is having. I think before the podcast, I was telling you how I was watching on YouTube someone they watched the Marvel movies for the first time starting in Iron Man, and how they're watching Infinity War, and you can see their reaction, and it's kind of like you're enjoying that with them. And the same thing in the theater, but on a grander scale, like you're feeling everybody's excitement when Captain America gets that. When we walked out of Infinity War and the theater is dead silent because everybody's in shock, you feel that. It's a shared experience, and theaters still have a place there. I don't know if every movie's going to stand up still in theaters though, but you're going to get these.
Well, if you think about it, and you look at the current top 10 movies, and like with Titanic, Avatar, Harry Potter, and I think it's something else that I'm missing. I'm naming movies outside of Marvel. Those movies had that same draw when it came to people. It's like when they watched the movie and left the theater, they felt something with the movie. I mean, even with a movie as serious as Titanic, when that movie came out, such high praise for that movie.
Yeah.
For that particular time period. You're not going to get that with a movie going straight to a streaming service.
No.
Right.
You're not going to get that same feel.
Right. That in a movie that you can talk about days later, right? You see the movie, right? You walk out the theater, you're talking about it with your friends, right? You go to work, you go to school, did you see it? You're talking about it. And I think there's something about having that experience. It's like whenever Netflix drops like that number one show, then everyone wants to talk about it or whatever. It will be the same thing. And even with movies that aren't blockbusters, there's something about being in a movie theater that just kind of fun.
Yeah.
So which, I mean, like, if I had an option to see, even if it was something simple, like, I don't know, a simple movie. I don't know. I'm trying to think the last time I watched a simple movie.
I don't know. Enola Holmes, I would watch at home. I'm not going to the theater.
No, I was going to name a good movie.
Okay.
But let's say something like A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place is a good movie, but I am glad I saw it in the theaters.
Well, that's another one of those theater experiences, though, I think. Because, like, being there and...
I would say, like, for me, I want to say, outside of, like, Nola Holmes or something, like, I want to say, like, Invisible Man, I've seen. I would want to see that I probably would have liked to have seen that in the theater.
Okay, I'll give you a perfect one. Something like Ocean's 11. I saw that in theaters. It is a simple movie, a movie you don't have to be in the theater to see, but I felt like it was still fun, and I'm glad that I saw it in the theater. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that, yes, I have a big screen TV, I got a good sound system, blah, 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 but I just think it's just something, there's a joy about going to the movie theaters.
Yeah. Well, that experience that we were talking about that you get. Yeah. Very true. And this movie hits all those points. There were so many times where it was just just like cheering in elation because of like we mentioned, Captain America picking up the shield, everybody coming through the portal, Pepper landing in her own Iron Man suit, dude. It's like, yo, man, let's go.
And I don't get like involved vocally when I'm at the movie theaters, but I'm like, that movie I did.
Yeah.
I cheered too. I clapped too. Like, yeah.
I did not, but okay.
No, I didn't. I was watching.
We know you didn't.
Yeah. But yeah, so it definitely hits all those parts. But then it still ends on a sad note, I think. Like that after all of that, like it still ends on a sad note. And I was telling you guys before the podcast, I think, I know people don't believe me, but I think it's like the maybe third or fourth time I've actually watched Endgame. Like I haven't watched it that many times. And but even though I've seen it over and over, like it's Iron Man's death still hits. Like it still hits for some reason. You know he's gonna die. You know how it's gonna happen. You've seen it all before, but it still hits. And I just think that's good writing. Then, like the way they put it up, and it's good build up, especially with the movies that came before it. Like that's how you build a character because everybody still cared about him.
Yeah, I think like even though you know it's coming, like I this is my second time watching Endgame all the way through. Like I seen it in theaters and I have not watched the entire movie all the way through until today. But you're right, it's like you know it's coming, but even at the end it's still like, man, that's really messed up and it's still sad. I mean, you know, I'm not about to shed no tears for someone who's not real. But
it's okay. If you feel sad, you can cry. It doesn't have to be a real person. You feel sad. You're sad.
I'm not. You guys do what you do. I'm not. Whatever. But I mean, you know what I mean? It still hits and it's still like, man, like someone who's been around, who started the whole thing is now gone.
Right.
And like you said, like you had this whole big build up, like, oh my gosh, the Avengers, blah, blah, blah. And then it just kind of like bring you back down to earth.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, movie over. Well, not really, but basically.
It basically movie over. Yeah. And then they built it up. He gave up a lot, man. You know, he died, left his 5-year-old daughter. You know.
Yeah. Left his wife and his kids. So like when he finally settles down and, you know, have a happy life, and then it's like he sacrificed it to save the world.
Yeah. I like in this movie how you got just the character growth and the end to a lot of character arcs. I mean, even things as simple as if you watch the battle between the Avengers and Thanos, Thor, every time he swung his axe, he went for Thanos' head because of what happened in Infinity War. Because since he didn't go for Thanos' head in Infinity War, Thanos actually won. So now every time he attacked him, he actually went for his head. And like, okay, it's like just a small thing like that. They didn't have to do stuff like that. But then you had closure on people. Tony Stark, even though he died, like that really completed his arc. Because he started off as such a selfish person, and throughout the movies, he started to become less and less selfish. Of course, he always played the sacrifice play, but you know, here was the ultimate sacrifice that he made, and it really ended things on a like a full arc for his character, I guess.
Yeah, I will say that that just in this whole 10 years of these 3 phases is that like you said, the character growth and like what happens to these characters matter, and that who we met in the first Avengers is not who we have at Endgame. It's like they grew and that they're different people. You know, it was like Captain America was the, you know, the, I want to say uptight, but like follow the rules guy. You know, and then as you can see a progress where all of a sudden it's just, you know what, I don't even care anymore kind of person, where Tony went from being this carefree, selfish, you know, selfish, reckless person to, you know, sacrificing himself for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
For Black Widow, who we haven't talked about yet, trying to redeem herself for her past, sacrificing herself for the rest of the world. And I think that what makes these movies stands out and what makes Endgame so good is that like what happened mattered. Even though, some people quote unquote came back and, every people got unsnapped, the people that died are dead and it matters and it affects everything else. And I think that to be able to do that across 10 films and in this movie especially, just kind of what makes Endgame, such a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, to be able to do that, that was good. Yeah, we can't forget about Natasha, Black Widow. That yeah, that scene was also sad. Like, I don't know, we didn't think about it, but it's like, oh, Soulstone, someone has to die. Like,
Yeah, it's like when they said that they were going there, I didn't equate that like, oh yeah, one of them isn't coming back. And it wasn't until Red Skull showed up when I was like, one of them isn't coming back. And I immediately hoped it was Hawkeye.
I think everybody was hoping it was Hawkeye, which is why they didn't kill Hawkeye. Actually would have been okay. Like,
because no one would have cared.
Because they did Hawkeye dirty throughout these movies. They did not care about his character at all.
No, it's probably why he got to live. I mean, that haircut alone should have been the reason why he got sacrificed.
Yeah, but they built it up for her too. Black Widow throughout this movie, you can see it. I think she was one of the characters. Sometimes they put a person where they're the audience's eyes, and we can see the effect of the 5 years through Black Widow. Especially like they had that meeting, you could see the tears welling up in her eyes. And after everybody's gone, she starts to cry before Steve Rogers comes in, and it's like you felt that, like and that just kind of showed you how it was for most of the people on Earth. Like, they're all feeling that hurt and the difficulty moving on, and then just losing her after that, even though it's closure for her character because that's what she really wanted to do. She felt like that's really how she redeems herself. But I feel like we could have used more Black Widow.
We could have. I mean, which is why we should have gotten a Black Widow movie before this. It'd have been really great. I've been hollering for like the longest to have like a real good Shield movie with like Black Widow and Hawkeye and Nick Fury.
That would have been dope.
And Sharon Carter. I think Darren, I was talking to you yesterday. Like, I want more Sharon Carter.
Yeah, let's get more Sharon Carter.
I would agree.
So, like, we had so much potential with Black Widow, and we just didn't get it. I mean, I'm excited for her movie coming out in July, but it would have been great if we had more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a good ending to our story, but more would have been better.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
So our third loss in this was Captain America, which is, again, I think it's still a good closer for his character. Like you were saying, he's straight laced, follow the rules, and at the end, he didn't follow the rules because he's not supposed to go and stay in the past, right? Making an alternate universe, which is the only thing that makes sense. I know it's been debate about what he did, but I think the only thing that makes sense is that he went back and lived in an alternate timeline, because the way the time travel works is you can't change the future. So
right. Yep. So there's just a branch with him and Peggy being together.
Yeah.
So it's nice that he's finally happy. I do have some kind of a love-hate feeling about what he did.
Yeah.
I do, because on one hand, it's like, I'm glad he finally found happiness. He finally gets his girl, whatever. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, it'd have been nice if he'd have been able to move forward
Still be
in the timeline that he was in,
Yeah. But he couldn't. He never could
have if he tried. I feel like he didn't really try.
Yeah, Bucky seemed, kind of.
Well, Bucky has the same problem. When we talk about Winter Soldier, we can talk about that too. It's just like, oh yeah, people forget that Bucky was in basically the same position Captain America was in.
Yeah.
And like no one ever really brings that out. I don't know. I mean, I think I would have been happy if Captain America would have. I mean, even if he'd have had a life here and had decided, hey, I can go back and get Peggy, I'd have been cool with that. You know, I don't know.
I feel like they should have expounded more on Captain America and Sharon Carter.
I agree. Like I said, we needed more Sharon Carter.
Like in the comic books.
Although, I mean, it's still super weird. I mean, he's with
It
Sharon
is
and
weird.
goes back to
It
her
is
aunt.
weird. It is weird. Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't expound on that. Like, I don't know. There's some things we don't talk about.
True. That's true.
Very true. Very true. So, yeah, Endgame, I'm always for this movie. It's I just watched it before the podcast, so I'm still feeling it a certain kind of way after losing Iron Man again. I got to start over.
Are you watching it for the second time today, like right now?
You're watching it right now. I could probably watch the last hour again, but yeah. So it's a great movie. But let's see. I think Danita usually has some extra stuff. Was there some things you wanted to bring out?
I do. But before we do that, I just have one question for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay? So in Infinity War, if the Avengers was all together, did they still lose?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I think they still lose.
They still lose. Even if Peter Quill didn't hit Thanos and they got the gauntlet off, they still lose.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they would lose together and maybe they put up a better fight, but I think they still lose.
Yeah, because Thanos royally kicked their butts without the Infinity Gauntlet in Endgame. So,
True.
yeah, only person he didn't beat without the Infinity Gauntlet or one of the Infinity Stones was Captain Marvel, and technically Scarlet Witch. Without, like Derek said earlier, she's not super strong, so her being fired upon actually did stop her.
Wait. We did not talk about Scarlet Witch. Can we talk about Scarlet? Like, she came in there gangbusters.
Right.
Like,
Dude,
he was like, I don't even know who you are. And
like,
she's
you will.
You will.
Just
I don't think she felt he needed to know who she was. She's like, I'm about to kill you, so don't worry about who I am.
So we were talking about before the podcast, like, the end of this movie has the signatures of the original 6, and we're saying, can they do that again at their next epic movie 10 to 15 years from now? Can they do that again with who are the actors? And I said Elizabeth Olsen for one of them. Now, Danita was saying she doesn't think so, but come on. How not? She's one of the most powerful Avengers. Right now.
She is. I feel like she's super likable. I just don't know how involved she's going to be within this next phase. Like, I know she's going to be in a new Doctor Strange movie, but is she going after that? Is she still involved? That's what I'm saying. Why I don't think it's her.
I think she's going to be involved.
She's going to continue with the next, 5 or 6 movies.
You don't think so?
No, but think about how many movies she's already been in. She's been around since Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but like, isn't she like just now like discovering who she really is?
Right,
how
but my
powerful
thing
she
is,
really can be?
Maybe they have a plan. It's just after Doctor Strange, they have not said anything else about her. Like, I don't know if she continues on, so then she wouldn't be a part of that core group that they're going to create.
Well, okay, she's been in since Age of Ultron, but what movies has she been in? She was in Age of Ultron, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. She's only been in 4 movies.
4 movies.
Still been 10 years. Right? And then she's going to be in 1 more movie that we know of.
Elizabeth Olsen is 30.
Yeah.
But maybe she wants to do other stuff. Maybe she doesn't want to do this until she's
She had
50.
plenty of time to do other stuff, and she didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, if I was an actor and I was hired by Marvel and we was like making money like crazy, I don't even know if I want to do anything else. Like, do I want to do anything else? Do I need to?
I would be like Samuel L. Jackson. But like, how many movies you need Nick Fury in? Sign me up.
Yeah, like,
Okay,
let's do that.
Okay, Samuel Jackson might not be a good example since he's like 80 and been in like 100 movies. At this point, he's just collecting a check.
Well,
He
no,
doesn't care.
but Danita, check this though. Like we mentioned, you said, "Oh, it's been so many years. She's only been in 4 movies. She can still do other stuff." Right? She's filming Doctor Strange right now. Once she's done filming Doctor Strange, until the next Marvel project that Scarlet Witch is in, she can be in movies. They'll probably be saying like, okay, for July 2024, you need to be available for whatever. But until then, she can pick up whatever projects you want.
Okay, yes. My thing is, they gave no indication that they plan to continue her on, is what I'm saying. Not that she wouldn't fit or that she wouldn't want to do it or is not going to continue. It just doesn't seem like they plan to continue with her.
I don't know. All right, we'll see what happens.
I'm saying, like, if they continue, then yes, she could be that core group. It just doesn't seem like that's what they plan to do.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. There are a lot of things heading up. I mean, Young Avengers is coming up too. We'll talk about that in the future, but they're definitely going to be doing a Young Avengers.
Yeah, they are.
So we'll see what happens.
Characters are lining up to be that.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to what you mentioned about do they still lose without the Infinity Stones? I feel like they won their other major battles and they still wasn't fully together as a group. They needed to lose this to realize on how important they needed to work together.
Yeah.
And that's why their fight in Endgame was so much better. Because they knew like we can't lose this. And it's like they even in their own individual movies, they won battles that they easily could have lost.
Yeah. Yeah, the stakes were high. The stakes were high in this. You felt it watching the movie and you felt like the characters knew that. Like we mentioned Thor going for the head every single time. It was they knew they could not lose. That's what gives Tony Stark the will to go through, even though he knew, he would be dying, and leaving Pepper and his daughter, to go through with what he did at the end of the movie and dying right there because the stakes. If we don't do this right now, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
We just took out our biggest he just took out our biggest gun. So yeah, that's like what's happening.
Derek, yeah, what you said is very true, and Derek too. Because I feel like when you lose, you kind of like notice your weaknesses, and like if you just win all the time, everything's just like, all right, we walk into this battle kind of a little bit too cocky. Like, all right, yeah, we gonna win, we be all right, we cool. But like Derek said, they wasn't really together till like the whole series, they've been breaking up. Like ever since they started, they've been breaking up. So it's like once they lost that one, they realized that we need all these pieces here in order to take out this guy because he's just too much. And he got his own army. He got everything together. Like Thanos' team was together. Like they was unified. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There was no like they got weaknesses, but there was no like I could do this by myself kind of deal. The Maw. I forgot what that big dude's name that was fighting the Hulk, that was gonna fight the Hulk. Him, Thanos, like this their whole squad was together. And that kind of made the Avengers realize we gotta be together on this if we're gonna beat all of them. That's the only way it's gonna happen.
Yeah. So. Which is what Tony said when he first got back at the beginning of the movie, right? It's that and I do like how it's like all of a sudden they weren't automatically friends again. Like the effect of Civil War still hurt. And Tony was like, we lost. And he told Kaz, like, hey, you said we were going to do this together and you weren't there and we lost. And I think it's like because you lost in such a big way, then to realize like, maybe if we were together as a team, which they really hasn't really been before, maybe we don't lose. I mean, they still would have, but and their minds are like, maybe we don't lose. And it's just like, but we weren't together when you said that we would be. Right. And it's like, hey, I've been warning you guys about this. And when it happens, where was the team?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Very, very true.
So I thought it brought out a good point. I feel like Captain America being Captain America, busy asking Tony, did Thanos give you any information? Did he give you any coordinates? Like, did he give you any when he was punching you in the face? No. So why would he give Tony extra information?
Right. Any idea where he would be right now? Like, bro, I was floating in outer space dying.
Right. I don't even know where I was. I have no idea where I was. I definitely don't know where Thanos is going to be.
Right, he hit me with a planet. He did not say, "Oh, by the way, this is where I'm retiring." Like, dude.
I do like how he was like, he was like, a wet fight. Who told you there was a fight? He was like, no, he mopped the planet with my face. Like, I was like, yeah, you guys kind of lost pretty bad.
It basically was that. Like, it really wasn't no fight. Like, I mean, they really were giving everything that they had, and Thanos was just like, I don't even got to give 100%.
Yeah.
All that
I got
work.
this. Yeah, all that blood. A drop of blood. It was like ultimate insult, man. Because he did a lot. Like,
He
all
did
that
a lot.
transforming and like, he finally hit him, and he said, all that work for one drop of blood. That's discouraging. It's like,
Yeah.
that's dismantling to you.
It is.
Like,
I mean, Iron Man has never fought as good as he had then, and it made no difference.
none. So yeah, like you said, he threw a moon at him. If I don't have anything as big as a moon that I can possibly throw at you, I lost. I mean, what am I gonna pick up a rock now and throw it at you? Like, no, I need a moon or bigger. he don't got that. So yeah, that was an L.
Yeah.
Big time L.
All right. Now I think we're ready for random movie facts.
All right.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. So Robert Downey Jr. is the only actor to read the entire script. Not surprising. Not surprising at
Not
all.
surprising. Yeah. Well, when you make that much money, you get the rights to read the entire script.
Although, shout out to Chris Hemsworth making more money than him for this movie.
Really?
Really?
Yes, Hemsworth made $80 million. I'm like, you know what?
Oh.
I would just do nothing else.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
like, if I'm working with Marvel, I don't need nothing else.
I will be Thor for the rest of my life.
I sure will. I'll be
Fine.
young Thor, middle-aged Thor, old Thor, dead Thor. I'll play dead Thor. That's fine.
Flashback Thor. Let's
Yeah, whatever. Man.
So this movie had the biggest pre-sale ticket sales ever, actually crashing the Fandango and Atom site, which we've experienced because we could not get
I
tickets to
We
this
didn't
movie.
experience it.
This is how we experienced it. We could not go to the Thursday night or Friday night movie. We literally, me, Danita, and another one of our friends, we went to a 12 p.m. movie midday. We took time off work to watch Endgame because there were no other times for us to watch it.
Yeah, that whole weekend, all the evenings were completely gone. And so it was like, hey, you want to see this movie before like Monday? You're going to have to go on a Friday afternoon,
Right.
which is fine. I was on the verge of getting fired anyway, so what else?
I think I went on like a Saturday afternoon, but
Yeah, but it was, like that midnight showing was not happening, just nothing.
I went Saturday afternoon, I believe. It was a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, like the afternoon showings were like available somewhat because that
I
movie
think
theater
it
was
was- I
packed.
I went like at 1:30,
Yeah.
which is weird. I have never went to a movie that early on a weekend.
Well, not a movie like this.
No.
I don't ever to any movie that early on a
ever.
Right.
You wait till the evening most of the time.
Right.
Right.
Evening,
Yeah.
I
midnight.
mean, that's how I was.
Midnight
that's how I
showing
was
on
with my
Thursday.
grandma or something.
Yeah.
Like if I went to a movie with my grandma, I'm like, all right, we better go early.
Right. I was gonna
But-
say, like, unless you're under the age of 12 when your parents are still taking you.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
So
always
this
do.
movie had so many sold out showtimes that theaters started showing the movie around the clock.
Yeah.
Yep.
Better get that money.
They put it in more theaters too. Like where we usually go, they were showing that movie in so many houses. Like it was insane. Like I don't know how any other movies were playing
It was like one theater
Oh.
for that other movie, which I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I don't even remember the other movies that were available. I don't even remember.
Like yeah, it is like all of a sudden they start like pulling these other movies. It's like whatever. It's going to be Endgame.
Yeah.
So yeah, it earned $1 billion in its first weekend. It took 11 days to earn $2 billion.
Okay, man. Like, good lord.
Yeah. And
I wish I could have something on autopilot like that. It's like, make me $1 billion this weekend.
Yeah.
And another 2 billion in 11 days? Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Shout
until
out Jeff
2
Bezos.
weeks ago, right? Until 2 weeks ago, it was the highest grossing film of all time, but Avatar re-released, so now Avatar has surpassed it once again.
Yes.
People really go see
I
Avatar.
feel like that doesn't count.
It was released in
Avengers
China,
Endgame re-released again.
Was it Danita? Was it released in China and it wasn't released in China before?
What, Avatar? Avatar got re-released here too because nothing else is playing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I saw something that said it was released in China because, released in Hong Kong, that doesn't include the rest of the country.
Yeah, no, I mean, you might be right, but it got re-released everywhere.
I mean, a lot of the top movies I agree with. Avatar is one of the ones I don't. I like
because it's not good.
Movie. It's not a good movie.
I watched
Really
it and I didn't like the movie.
Yeah.
I watched it when it came out on DVD and I didn't like it.
I thought it was okay, but I'm like, I don't really need to see it again.
Yeah. I have no interest in seeing that movie again.
Yeah, none.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, they re-released it and it's doing okay.
And
still.
there are gonna be 7 more? Yay. Yes.
7? Oh dear God! Like, why?
I don't know.
What are they doing with it?
Who was asking for Avatar sequel?
They approved. It's supposed to. I thought it was 6. It's 7.
Is it? It might be. Maybe it's 6. It's still too many.
Another
one is too many.
6 too many.
You only need one of these.
The Fast and Furious director or something like why you need like 8, 9, 10 of them for what?
I don't know. I'm not
was interested in the first one. I don't even remember why I went to go see it, but
because
I didn't see it in theaters.
I get it. At the time, it did something that we hadn't seen before, right? It was right. It was a pretty movie. Basically, that's all it is. It's a very pretty movie. But now, man, it's a basic Cowboys versus Indian story.
Alien Pocahontas. That's all it is. Okay. All right.
I just got mad that it started the wave of everything being in 3D and it didn't need to be.
Yeah.
How many? Here's a question: how many highest grossing movies is Zoe Saldana in?
A lot.
I hope she's still getting royalty checks.
Yeah, because like she's in Avatar, she's in Endgame, she's in Infinity War, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She draws a crowd.
She should be making money. How come she didn't make $80 million?
You know the answer to that.
We know the answer to that, but still.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I would say that Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, and Robert Downey Jr. should have made more money in this movie because, because of what their characters meant to the movie. I feel like that made sense. But yeah, some equalizing would be great.
I'm sure all the other actors agree with that too. Some equalizing would be great. Right.
Yeah, all right. So this was shot back to back with Infinity War, as we know. But there was also some people in this movie that was also shooting their other movies. Brie Larson actually shot this before she shot Captain Marvel. Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly, that's her name, right?
Yes.
They were actually shooting this at the same time that they were doing Ant-Man and the Wasp, so kind of busy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're on the studio lot, I mean, you probably just go over to the next.
Go to the next room.
Yeah, but it might be a little confusing. Like, wait, so what's up?
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised they confuse their lines a lot. Like I'm sure I would have.
I don't know how you get your lines
especially
right
when
you get the script on the day. And I'm like, how am I supposed to remember these lines? What?
Yeah, honestly, that's good acting, man. That is good acting. And I understand. I mean, I know they say, oh, it's a superhero movie, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, if it's bad acting, it will affect the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Big time.
like, oh, it's Iron Man. It's a great movie. Like, if Robert Downey Jr. sucked, it would be a bad movie.
It's not a good movie. No.
Daredevil.
It would be visually impressive.
Horrible
But
acting.
Daredevil, God.
It was horrible acting. It was trash. Superior trash.
it was poo poo. It was poo poo.
It was just bad all around. That's just
It was. I agree with that.
no, Catwoman.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know what? People
It's
don't
one of the
talk
worst
about that
movies
enough.
ever. One of the
People
worst
do not
movies
talk
ever
about
made.
that
No,
enough.
because you don't want to remember.
Probably
it.
don't want to.
Yeah.
Probably don't want to.
There's
That movie
you don't need to
was
talk about it.
Horrible. Oh man.
I
Oh, that
would
movie was so bad.
definitely watch 2017 Justice League before I watch Catwoman. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. You were right about that, DJ. Catwoman got to be the worst superhero movie.
Yeah, go on.
No,
I
it's
don't know-
it's
I
one
don't
of
know,
the
Green
worst
Lantern is
movies.
pretty bad, too.
Period. It's one of the worst movies.
Worst movie.
That was
Yeah.
yeah.
But Danita, what else you got for us?
All right. So the opening scene with Hawkeye, we talked about it before about how they kind of like, oh hey, remember Infinity War? So that was actually going to be at the end of Infinity War. But then the Russos felt like because Hawkeye wasn't in the movie, it might be a little odd for all of a sudden he's with his family, then they disappear. So then they moved it to the beginning of this movie.
I feel like
But they stated the reason on why Hawkeye wasn't there, though.
Yeah, but
They stated on why him and Ant-Man wasn't there.
I feel like if you put that at the end of Infinity War, people still leave the theater quiet. Like
Yes.
instead of
Yes,
ending on
yeah.
Thanos, I mean, you could have ended on Thanos. Actually, I think you still could have. You could have put the Thanos scene after the Hawkeye scene, and we all would have still just been like, "What just
Because I
happened?"
mean, basically all it's saying is that this is worldwide. Hey, look, Hawkeye's affected too. He lost everybody.
Yeah.
Like he
Right.
lost his whole family. You know what I mean?
I
So
mean,
it's like they stand on your neck with the left foot, and then they put the right foot on your neck. That's kind of how that would have felt. So
Right, I
it
mean,
fit, though.
no, I think it fits, but I kind of like it better at the beginning of Endgame because you're kind of starting off where where you left the last movie.
Mhm.
And so they can say like, oh, hey, remember this guy that we keep forgetting is in the members of the Avengers, and then he loses his whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it fits in both. Like
Yeah.
for the it kind of like just gets the ball rolling for Endgame. Like of course, like you said, it reminds us of what happened, and it kind of puts that feeling back in your heart. Like man,
Yeah.
everybody like they just got ripped from
Yeah.
their lives, basically. So
Yeah.
It definitely works at the beginning of the game.
Yeah. So another thing that was going to be in Infinity War was actually Smart Hawk was going to appear in Infinity War. That he was going to bust out of the Hawkbuster suit as Smart Hawk. But then they felt like to have a success in a movie about all the losses that happen in Infinity War is supposed about the losses that the Avengers do. So they didn't want Smart Hawk to be like, oh hey, everyone lost, but Bruce Banner.
Mhm.
Right.
So-
But I got better.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
I-
so,
Yeah.
it didn't play well with the test audiences, so then they just kind of removed it. And that was that.
I get it, and it is probably better that we didn't get Smart Hawk in Infinity War. The consequence of that, though,
We don't get it anywhere.
is the Hawk's arc just doesn't really work. I know what they were trying to do, but it's missing so many pieces because you don't get a Hawk movie.
His entire storyline happens in the background in between movies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
like it's kind of messed up that's how it was.
Yeah. Because I really do wish like Hawk was expounded on more. Because out of all the original Avengers, Hawk is my favorite character growing up reading in the comic books. So, not being able to use him in a standalone movie, I felt like, I don't know, maybe him expounded more. I kind of like what they did with Thor Ragnarok, but better.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Hawk and Thor Ragnarok I thought was good, but
Yeah, but it was like how he got to that point was done off scene.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what Danita brought up.
Yeah, I mean, most of the Hulk story was like just alluded to instead of like put in front of you.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, well, this is what happened, and now he's here.
Yeah.
that's about it. So
pretty much.
Yeah, that did kind of suck a little bit, but
yeah. So just a small thing, like the suits they wore when they doing their quantum realm time travels were all done special effects because the design team wasn't finished designing the suits before they started shooting. And I think they actually end up basing it off of the spacesuits that they wore in Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Oh yeah, I might have to rewatch that.
Like okay, yeah. All right. So the Endgame writers said, because they kind of wanted to end Captain America's and Iron Man's story arc, and so they wanted like them to kind of end at them as their best selves. So they felt like Captain America couldn't die, and that Tony would be the one that would have to die because Captain America was already willing to give up his life in his first movie. So for him to do it now, that's not a change for him.
Right, he did it already.
Yeah, he did it already. So for them to be their best selves, Tony would have to be the one that loses his life, and Captain America would be the one that actually gets a life. Because Tony was the only one to move on, have a family, and in those 5 years, he had a life where he was so obsessed with being Iron Man before, and he moved on. So it was kind of like their roles reversed, and that's felt like that's the only way for their stories to end, which makes sense.
Yeah,
it does. It does.
Yeah. All right, so then my last random movie, I got some nitpicks, but my last movie fact. So according to the writers, Marvel did not care which character that they killed off.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah. Now they said it couldn't just be willy-nilly. It had to make sense, but they did not care who they chose. The only thing that they wanted for Infinity War and Endgame was that they had to feel like 2 different movies, so not a part 1 and a part 2, which is why they went away from calling it Infinity War Part 1 and 2, because they were going to be 2 completely different movies.
Which they are.
They succeeded in that. And like 2 separate movies.
Yeah. And they wanted the conflict to be Thanos focused. But after that, Marvel was like, do what you do.
That's good. I like how as Marvel went forward, they seems to be. I mean, obviously Marvel's hands on, but they seem to be giving the creators more freedom,
free reign.
Yeah, which makes for better movies. Just giving them a light guideline, like, hey, we need this, this, and this. Other than that, go ahead and do what you do. I think that works perfectly, and I think that's why the movies got better as we went along throughout the phases.
All right.
I agree.
I got some nitpicks.
All right.
Okay. All right. So I think I have them in order as we go through the movie. All right. So let's start with Scott. So he drives from California to upstate New York, right? He couldn't call the Avengers, say, hey guys, are you still alive? Nothing. Maybe they could send a Quinjet for him or something. Instead, he took like a week to drive from San Francisco to New York.
When your plan is a time heist, it doesn't matter. He could have taken 2 years to get to him.
No, he didn't know if that could work. He didn't know if that could work. He hopped in that sloppy jalopy and drove from California to New York. Just doesn't make any sense.
He made it, though. It's not a lot of traffic.
Speaking about Scott Lang, I want to clarify a nitpick that I think most people have. And they're like, oh, a rat just randomly brought him back out of the quantum realm. And I think people are missing a thing because they're like, what are the chances? And it is exactly what are the chances? Because it's been 5 years, right? So it's not just like, oh, all of a sudden, oh, rat, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yes, it was a small chance that it happened, obviously, because it took 5 years for it to even happen. So, like, that's... that's the deal. I get that it's kind of silly that that's what set off the whole thing and that's what saved the universe. But, yeah, it's not that big of a deal, guys. Calm down.
I didn't have no problem with that at all.
Full of superheroes that can do things that humans can't do.
Right.
Can we please put aside this, hey, this doesn't make sense. Can we put that away?
Okay. Mickey Mouse saved the universe, okay? Yo. All right.
It's just like, come on, y'all.
Okay. So if these 5 years was like 5 hours to Scott when he was in the quantum realm, then how is it that Jane returned 30 years older when she finally got out?
Janet?
Does that make sense? Oh, whatever her name is.
Janet?
Yes,
yeah, I mean, like, she
sense.
came out an old lady. How does that make sense? Was she in a different quantum realm?
There are time dilations in the quantum realm. The quantum realm doesn't have a set, like, a time passes at this speed throughout it. Remember when they sent him in, she's like, stay away from the time something, I forgot, time vortexes. So it depends on where you are. He apparently went through a time vortex when he was there, which is why it was 5 hours for him and not 5 years.
I'm still calling nonsense on that.
They explained it.
That's stupid. That's nonsense. I don't care. That's absolute nonsense.
I'm just gonna call confusion because I don't.
Like it's utter nonsense.
I'm gonna give it to him because they explained it.
No nonsense.
I'm gonna give it to him because it's time travel.
Derek's face froze on like a really weird face.
All right.
I
got another one. So, Hawkeye, his family dies. He loses a couple of screws, and now he's like an assassin, serial killer, or whatever. Are the Avengers cool with this? Are we just going to ignore the fact that this guy is a serial killer now?
Yes.
Like, they're just like, oh, hey, you're a murderer, but that's cool. Come join this team again. Like, bruh, like, are we serious right now?
I mean, it's like, we're going to put him in jail? Like, why?
I mean, but why are we okay with this? Like, Don Cheadle at the beginning was like, hey, maybe we shouldn't find him. And she's like, but it's Hawkeye. Look, I know they got like some super close, over weird relationship. And, his wife might want to be a little concerned about their relationship. I'm just saying. I mean, they're a little too close. I mean, she got a little arrow necklace and everything. It is not.
She did have an arrow necklace.
It is not. They keep talking about Budapest. We all know what happened in Budapest, and it was more than just their little mission that they went on.
Probably.
I'm just saying.
But I mean, come on.
All right.
It's a rough life.
And I'm just saying, like, I don't know why we're like super cool with him just being a murderer now. And they're just like, it's cool. Take your funky haircut and you can join the team again.
I thought it was cool because he was a bad dude. When he snapped, I'm like, this cat is ill. In all the other movies, he was just like firing arrows at people that were 2 feet in front of him. But now he's got this sword and he like these cartels going, but like it's nothing though.
Yeah.
Not even the facial expression change. He just getting it. I was like,
I mean, he's definitely better now, but I mean, like, maybe we should be a little concerned. And then how does he know it's Natasha when he in the rain in Japan and he's like, oh, that must be Natasha behind me? I'm telling you, the relationship is too much. It makes no sense.
They just close, man.
It makes no sense.
They're close. They're really close. They know a lot about it. They've been around each other for a while now, I'm saying. It's just like, hey, yeah, I can. Natasha. I'm saying? It's like that. So, yeah, who knows what aroma we're going to get at that.
All right.
Okay.
All right. What's your other pick?
We get that Tony is super smart, right? He can create time travel in like a day and a half while eating popsicles with his daughter, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to let that pass. He can do that. I
actually have an explanation for that too.
I don't care, right? Right? Superheroes, right? Superheroes fine. He can create time travel. I'm not going to complain about that. I am going to complain about the fact that he didn't try to make more Pym particles. Right? Like,
that's
why
like
not go?
Though,
yeah, man. He can't make a super soldier serum either.
Because Hank Pym put some of himself in the particles.
No. You can create time travel, but you cannot reverse engineer the Pym particles. And then why not go back in time and get some more Pym particles instead of using that little itty bitty bit that they had, saying we only got 2, so don't waste
True.
them
They
all.
could have just gone back in time, taken it
Since
before
they
they
went back in
started.
time
Before they
anyways to
started the
get some more.
time.
I mean, you know how sometimes plans don't really like. You gotta sometimes within the plan you think about. Oh man, maybe we should have. Like it was probably something like that.
Yeah, because obviously they didn't
No.
think about the fact that Pym particles were around somewhere. They just realized that there were 3 Infinity Stones in New York at one time.
At the same time, yeah.
Yeah.
So as the plan's going along, it's kind of getting put together.
Although I feel like that scene was literally how the writers were doing it. I think it was the writers brainstorming how would the Avengers get the Infinity Stones? Where do they have to go? And I think they were in the room and they're like, wait a second. There are 3 Infinity Stones in New York. I feel like that's what happened in the writers' room.
That could have happened. If that is what happened, and they decided to work into the script, that's cool. Yeah, me.
Yeah.
Like they made them brainstorm like we brainstorm. Cool.
So with Tony Stark solving time travel, at first I'm like, everyone's like, oh, he can just do this thing, which at first my answer to that is like, it's Tony Stark. He created an element in Iron Man 2, like, but we're forgetting that the whole thing was the knowledge about the quantum realm is the new factor here, which would have made it way easier for him to figure out a way to time travel. It's not like he just went, let me figure out time travel here. You now have a method of time travel. You just have to figure out how to get through it. And that's what he solved. He solved traveling through the quantum realm. The quantum realm is what created the time travel. And I think that's what everybody missed in that scene.
Okay, let's not try to add logic to time travel.
Computer though? Doesn't he have a supercomputer?
He does.
I'm complaining about it.
You got to add that in there. The computer is not like, only as smart as Tony Stark. I imagine this computer is like eons smarter than Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So he got a lot of help there.
Nah, I'm not gonna anything time travel related. I'm just gonna let go. I mean, I'm not gonna try to apply knowledge to something that's stupid. So that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I guess so.
All right, what's your other nitpicks?
Okay. So they're choosing places to go, and Nebula is the one with this insider knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Like, she don't want to give people a heads up about some things like, hey, Thanos took my sister to Vormir and then came back without her.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something you want to mention. Or the fact that she goes to a place where she knows Thanos and Nebula is going to be.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Maybe go to New York instead.
Yeah, she should have went to New York.
Like, why are we doing this? And then she don't have like a firewall on her internet or whatever, and like
probably not.
No, I don't know how that worked. Honestly, that is a nitpick of mine. I don't get how did they connect. I don't care because it's not that big of a deal. But it kind of that seemed like a plot contrivance to me. It's like we need 2014 Thanos to find out. Oh, the nebulas connect wirelessly. Like to me, it's like.
Bluetooth, man. Yeah. She's already blue.
Yeah. So, but that is a nitpick of mine. It's kind of small. I don't really care that much. But yeah, it's kind of like, come on now.
Yeah, like dude.
Yeah, that pissed me off though.
That and I mean, this is small. I know
Also,
because
I got another nitpick with that. Okay, Nebula, it stopped her from leaving with Rhodey, right? But right after it played that message, forget going back to the ship. Oh, we've got a problem. Boop, boop, go back to the future. Okay, let's go. Like, no. Her little thing getting captured by Thanos. No. Your little time travel bracelet still works.
like, yeah, why
let's go.
And then who was she calling?
She tried to reach out to Barton and Black Widow, but yeah, why? Guess what? She actually knows that Thanos doesn't know at that time where the Soul Stone is, so they were not in danger.
Yeah, stupid.
I mean, she didn't know how to play football, guys. So yeah. She probably, her thinking is probably just not really all that rapid.
She should have just left. But of course, we wouldn't have the epic last hour of the movies or whatever.
True.
Okay. True. Okay, so when they go back to New York, no one's paying attention to Loki. I feel like you might want to keep an eye on him, right? He gets away with the Tesseract. Like, Like, bro, come on. You got to keep your eyes on Loki at all times.
Yes,
they like literally just turned their back, and it's like, oh no, we lost the Tesseract. Like, come on, be better.
Well, he was in cuffs, so they probably just figured, well, in mystical cuffs. So they probably just figured he would have been cool. So like, oh, he good. Got the mystical cuffs on. He ain't going nowhere. But didn't work out for him.
Okay. And then why did they make such a big deal about using a time traveling machine when they clearly don't need it? Since people keep time traveling without the machine.
I didn't think of that. Never crossed my mind. Wow. They had me confused.
I don't know. Well, we need to forget about the time travel because it's not going to be used again, and we need to remember, like, not remember that they could use this technology. Wait, no, Pym. Oh no, Hank Pym's alive again. So let's just not think about time travel.
Okay.
It doesn't exist.
All right. So my last two is about Old Man Captain America. I'm not going to complain about him traveling back in time, but I do have some questions.
I have a nitpick after yours. I thought you were going to mention it, but you didn't. But go
Is it
ahead.
about Captain America?
No.
Okay, then go ahead.
When Thanos' ship comes in and blow up Avengers Mansion.
How no one dies? I skipped it. It's on my list. Yeah, it was on my list, and I decided to skip it. Yes.
I mean, for real, like
That
it just
means
came
I'm
in
looking
and
through the
blew up
face.
everything.
Plot armor.
Blew up everything. Like the building is not there no more.
And no one died.
The
Yeah,
people who
that's
should have
insane.
died was
Ant-Man.
Rocket. No, Ant-Man. He shrunk down, so I mean,
Man,
it's
no.
easier for him to survive. It is. Because he shrunk
You didn't
down
see it coming.
immediately.
It was like a missile to the face.
But the people who should have died was Rocket and Hawkeye, most definitely. Everybody else is kind of in armor, so I
No.
And super strong.
yeah.
Where did Rhodey get his armor back? Because remember, he left the armor, canopy, right? He gets out of his armor. But then when Ant-Man takes him out of the building, he's in a whole new armor suit.
When they were calling for help and Ant-Man said, "I'm here," Rhodey's suit was behind him. His new suit was behind him.
Okay, I didn't see it. I'm like, man, where did that magical suit come from? All right.
And he would have had to get him to a suit because Rhodey can't walk.
But I'm just saying the building got destroyed and flooded
Yeah, true.
and on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know,
Rhodey
I
would
think-
have died after the fact because his suit was injured or damaged. Hawkeye should have been dead. Rocket definitely should have been dead. I was thinking, I was like, did he fire on the building while Nebula was still in it? Was she still in the building? Like, he just shot all these missiles at it. Nebula was in there. Like,
She's Thanos. He probably didn't care. So what?
but everybody else, yeah, they were in armor or super strong.
Just like when he said rain hell and no one got shot.
But then people got shot.
Yeah,
You
they
know.
did. They were like, they showed it was a whole scene of people, like the ground blowing up around them.
It fell near them and
Yes.
they fell over.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh
no!
But hey, you know who it did hit directly? Thanos' people. Like you saw it, one of the big like Leviathan things it got shot by. So yeah.
That was a dirty move, though. He did all that just to save himself.
Well, yeah, he was dying. Plot armor. Okay, everyone had real thick layers of plot armor. All right.
Okay. Alrighty. Old Man Captain America. So he goes back in time to be with Peggy. Yay. Okay. So does he stop being Captain America? And if so, does he just let all the bad stuff happen? Like, does he just let Hydra take over S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I'm gonna say no, and there's a couple of reasons why. The shield he gave to Sam is a different shield. It's not the same shield that he had that got destroyed in the beginning of the movie.
Okay, so then here's my thing. So if he's still Captain America, which I feel like he is, because he would not be able to sit back and just let all this crazy stuff happen,
Mhm.
then isn't everything basically the same except for now he's married to Peggy? Right? I mean, does he? I mean, but does he go in there and say, "Hey, don't trust Zoloft," you know? Or
He might
like,
have. He actually might have. I actually was thinking earlier today. I think it would be interesting. I think they should do a cartoon of Captain America's Avengers in that alternate timeline. I think that'd be interesting to see what he did before he came back to our timeline to give the shield to Sam.
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
Like,
would go with that.
if we messed up if he let everything happen up until 2012, or does he like nip it in the bud back in 1950, whatever?
Yeah, I
And
don't.
then what happens?
I think
and then, I
he
mean,
stopped some stuff, but of course, you know how time works. You stop one thing, then maybe things got worse
Something
because
else
of what you
happened.
did. Yeah.
right? Because you figure, okay, if Loki has a Tesseract now, then a lot of stuff doesn't really happen that happens after the fact.
Yeah, that's what the Loki series is.
Right? Like
That's what
they
this
change
series is about.
everything in there, right? If Loki has a Tesseract, does that mean Thanos never attacks them?
Well, I guess we'll find
No,
out.
because he puts the Tesseract back.
No,
Okay,
So
That's-
all Loki did
No.
was cause another branch.
and
No.
Loki's timeline is what I'm saying.
yeah, he put the Tesseract back in 1970.
Yeah.
No, so that alternate reality with Loki left with the Tesseract, that continued to exist. They can't stop that. So they actually messed up that
Right.
that whole reality. So I'm sorry to the Ancient One.
Yeah, no, there's a branch out there that's really messed up. Oh, I forgot
And it's the
to
branch
mention-
it's the branch that she was in because it was the same timeline.
Yeah, the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was there that time. So, yep.
Yeah. So,
She put it together behind the scenes. We didn't see
okay,
it.
I feel like there's no way Captain America returns all the stones. Like, how do you return the Soul Stone? How do you return the Ether? It doesn't make any sense.
Soul Stone, you
Thor-
just throw it back at Riskel, and then
He just
you
threw it and left.
Yeah, let's go. Like, hey, get up, dude.
Right,
the
Thor
ether,
takes the
you just stick it back in Jane.
Thor takes the hammer. So does that now mean that Thor didn't have a hammer when the Dark Elves was attacking? I mean, that's just
No, he had the hammer with him, so he returned the hammer to Thor.
Does he
returned the
return
hammer.
it before everything happens? Like,
He-
oh, by
he
the
asked-
way, you might want to need this.
The agreement was they have to return it at the time that they took it from.
That they took it.
So, as an
Oh,
example,
yeah.
when the Ancient One gave the Time Stone to Hawk, then she turns around and Captain America's there, like, here's the Time Stone. Basically, is how that would have went. So Jane Foster would have been there. A raccoon would have sucked the ether out of her, and then some weird white guy would have put it right back into her immediately afterward. So that's what would have happened for her. Oh wait, no, she might recognize Captain America.
Yeah.
But how did he return the Power Stone though?
Where'd they get the Power Stone?
Without melting his arm off.
Oh man, just sitting on the floor next to it, and then Peter Quill picks it up. I don't know. It doesn't matter. As long as it's there for Quill to get, I think you're all right.
Okay. Yeah, and then I don't know. And then we got to go back to, like, does he tell Peggy, "Hey, by the by, 80 years ago, me and your niece, we was kicking it."
I think you leave the niece part out.
You just don't tell him.
Tell her that.
You take that to the
Yeah,
grave.
definitely.
Yeah.
All the way.
He's just like, no, I don't think I will. Oh man, did he watch Sharon Carter growing up?
See, I'm telling you,
That's
it's
so
just
weird.
it's not right. It's
so
not
weird.
right.
And you're like, man, I've like made out with this lady.
It's not right. I mean, she has to be like, "Oh, hey, my niece is coming up." He got to be like, "Nah,
Nah, it's
Nope.
cool. It's cool.
nope, he can't come."
Nah. Me and your niece just don't really get along. No.
Yeah, our relationship is complicated.
Sharon's just not understanding. Like, wow.
She's like, huh?
Like, why doesn't he like me?
No, he likes you. But
A little bit too much, considering the age difference is palpable now.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. So. All right.
All right.
Well,
that was my last nitpick.
cool beans. We don't really have to rank this again, do we? It's greatest movie ever. That's gotta. Yeah.
We ain't gotta rank it again.
It just got better.
Yeah. I enjoy watching it again. If you didn't listen to all this if you haven't watched any Marvel movies, let's be real. I guess
if you haven't watched it, come out of your corner and watch it.
Yeah.
How else have you
start
not
with
watched
Iron Man and watch it in release order?
Definitely.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. But yeah, so that's that was our thoughts on Endgame again, and this is pretty much the end of our Marvel rewatch. Yeah. There's one more movie, Spider-Man: Far From Home. I'm debating whether or not we're going to do it because it feels so recent, wasn't it? Like that was.
It was in July.
2 summers ago.
Whatever.
It was 2 summers ago because there was no movies last year.
Oh,
so.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I don't want to watch it, but if you say we will, we will.
No, I feel like Endgame is a good close for it. You know?
Yeah. I said we close the Endgame. Yeah.
Good.
So there goes our Marvel Rewind. It was worth it. It's been a year, and we are still in our own homes as we talked about it. But we've been on this journey. Thanks for taking this journey with us. Of course, there are more Marvel things coming up in the future. So if you guys have your own thoughts and comments on this, make sure you leave it in the comment sections below, or you can reach out to us on Facebook, facebook.com/3drivals. Also, we have an email. It is 3drivals@gmail.com, or Twitter, 3_rivals on Twitter. With that being said, thank you so much for watching /listening, and peace out.